What if I told you the world was already yours, but you're still acting like a guest in your own life? You wake up each day waiting for proof, for validation, for permission, for the universe to tap you on the shoulder and say, now you're ready. But that tap will never come, because life doesn't hand power to those who wait. It yields to those who walk like they own it. I've studied the most powerful men of my generation, men who bent steel with their will and built empires from thin air. And do you know the one thing they had in common? They acted like they were meant to win, long before a single soul believed in them. It wasn't a performance, it was a decision, a way of breathing, thinking, walking, grounded in absolute belief. Before they had money, they carried themselves like kings. Before anyone said yes, they were already building. Before results showed up, they behaved like results were inevitable. And you've been taught to wait, to be modest, to play small and call it humility. But I'll tell you the truth, playing small is not noble. It's sabotage. It's how dreams die quietly, not from rejection, but from hesitation. The longer you wait to act like you were meant to win, the longer you train your mind to believe you weren't. And that ends now. You were not put here to tiptoe through life, hiding your fire so others feel comfortable in their fog. You were not born to be a shadow in someone else's spotlight. You were born to own your mind, shape your world, and move with the conviction of someone sent here for a purpose. That purpose has been whispering to you in every dream, every frustration, every flash of knowing that says, there's more in me than I'm using. And there is far more. But the key isn't waiting to feel ready. The key is acting as if the crown already belongs to you. Because the world doesn't follow the uncertain. It moves for those who radiate belief, not just in words, but in posture, tone, energy. You must become that belief, walk it, speak it, live it, until your external world has no choice but to reflect your internal certainty. Now listen closely. This is not about arrogance. It's not about faking confidence. This is about alignment, about stepping into the version of yourself you were designed to become, and refusing to take a single step backward. And when fear knocks, you answer with movement. When doubt whispers, you drown it in action. Because winners don't feel ready, they decide they are, they act like it, and eventually they become it. So I ask you, what would your life look like if you truly acted like you were meant to win? You see, most people live as if they're renting their identity, temporary occupants in the house of potential. They decorate the walls with doubt. They tiptoe through their own greatness, fearing the noise they might make if they truly stepped into it. But the men and women who shape history, they don't ask, do I belong here? They decide they do. And by that decision, the room rearranges itself. Opportunities emerge, people listen differently. Doors that were once closed begin to creak open, not because of magic, but because of posture, because of presence. Belief is magnetic. It's not loud, but it's unmistakable. You walk into a room with it, and people feel it in their bones. Not bravado, not ego, just quiet, unshakable certainty. And that kind of certainty, it doesn't wait for applause. It doesn't check the temperature of public opinion before moving forward. It burns from within. It is built, forged, by acting as if every step you take is toward something already yours. When I interviewed the industrial giants, the self-made millionaires, the titans of industry, they all carried the same fire in their eyes. A fire that said, I may not have it in my hands yet, but it's already mine in my mind. They walked the factory floor like it was a kingdom. They made decisions as if failure wasn't even an option on the menu. They didn't ask if it was possible. They assumed it was inevitable. And that assumption, that embodied belief is what separates the great from the good. You've been trained to hesitate, conditioned to overthink, schooled in the art of self-doubt. But I'm telling you now, your future isn't built by hesitation. It's built by motion, by showing up as the embodiment of the life you want, and not someday, but now. Let them laugh. Let them question you. Let them say, who does he think he is? Because the truth is, you're not trying to be someone you're not. You're returning to who you were always meant to be. The real fraud is living a life beneath your potential just to make others feel comfortable. You weren't born for invisibility. You weren't born to apologize for your ambition. You were born to walk like you know something, because you do. You know that greatness isn't a title handed down. It's a presence you claim by walking in alignment with your destiny before anyone else sees it. And every time you take that posture, every time you carry yourself with the energy of someone already successful, you train your subconscious to believe it. And your subconscious, my friend, controls everything. Your habits, your energy, your focus, your money. When you act like you were meant to win, your mind stops fighting you and starts working for you. And that's when life changes. It starts small, a shift in how you sit, how you speak, how you enter a room. At first, it might feel like pretending, but understand this. You are not pretending to be someone else. You are practicing being yourself at a higher level. The version of you who already has what they want doesn't second-guess every move. They move with purpose. They speak with clarity. They own their time, their energy, their space. The mind, once given a new role to play, begins rewriting the entire script of your life. You begin waking up with different thoughts. You stop seeking permission. You no longer audition for approval. And without even trying to impress anyone, you start becoming impossible to ignore. But none of this happens until you make a decision, a final, non-negotiable decision that you are done living beneath your design, that you will no longer act as if life is happening to you. From this moment on, you act as if life is responding to you, because it is. The universe mirrors belief. Every powerful leader I ever studied understood this. You don't wait to feel ready. You decide you're ready. You don't wait for proof. You act like the proof is already in. And you carry yourself as such until reality has no choice but to reflect it. Look around. The winners, the real ones, don't always have more talent. They have more certainty. They have trained themselves to ignore the noise, rise above the resistance, and act from a place of complete alignment with who they intend to become. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not too inexperienced. What you lack isn't experience. It's embodiment. Start acting like the doors are already open. Start walking like the path is already paved. Speak with the weight of someone who knows where they're going. This isn't about arrogance. This is about authority, internal authority, the kind that no one can give you and no one can take away. You declare it with every step, and the world starts to recognize it. Do not shrink to fit your surroundings. Expand until your surroundings adjust to fit you. The moment you stop negotiating with your weakness, your power returns. That weaker version of you, the one that hesitates, delays, questions everything, will scream for attention. It will call you reckless, too bold, unrealistic. But that voice is not the voice of wisdom. It is the voice of fear dressed up as logic. And if you keep listening to it, you will keep living a life that doesn't belong to you. When you act like you were meant to win, you step out of that fog. You stand in sharp definition. You stop watering yourself down for comfort or approval. You realize that growth and comfort never hold hands. They walk in opposite directions. Choose one. The strongest people I've ever known were not born that way. They became strong by refusing to betray their future self. Every time they wanted to quit, they remembered who they said they were becoming. And they chose that vision over their momentary weakness again and again until the old identity lost its grip. This is your task now, to align every thought, every word, every habit with the winner you were meant to be. This is not play acting. This is rehearsal for reality. Your brain doesn't distinguish between imagination and lived experience. What you act out consistently, it begins to believe. And what it believes, it begins to build. So if you want to become unstoppable, start moving like you already are. Let your walk carry intention. Let your gaze hold certainty. Let your silence speak volumes. People won't always understand you. That's fine. You're not here to be understood. You're here to realize the full measure of your potential. And that requires boldness. It requires presence. It requires you to act like every single thing you do is shaping your destiny because it is. Every time you check your phone instead of your goals, you shape your future. Every time you flinch from discomfort, you train your mind to retreat. But every time you rise, even when you're tired, even when the results aren't visible yet, you are becoming that version of you who cannot be shaken. People often ask me, but what if I don't feel like a winner yet? What if I don't believe I can become that person? And I tell them this: belief is not a prerequisite, it's a product. It grows from action. You don't wait to believe before you act. You act until belief becomes your new default. Faith is not built in the absence of fear. It is forged by walking forward while fear screams behind you. That is how you prove to your own nervous system that your future is safe in your hands. That is how you train your mind to follow, not sabotage your deepest desires. You were not born to second-guess your every move. You were not designed to shrink in the presence of greatness. You were built with the same stuff as giants, with the same capacity to imagine and to achieve. But somewhere along the way, someone told you to play small, to stay quiet, to wait for permission, and you believed them. I am telling you now, stop waiting, stop apologizing, stop asking for proof before you take the leap. If you want to live a life that defies the odds, you must be willing to defy your current limits, not with arrogance, but with authority. When you walk into a room, let your energy arrive first. When you speak, let it be from the core of conviction, not from the edges of insecurity. And when doubt rises, and as it always does, don't try to silence it, just don't obey it. Let your actions answer the question it asks. Every successful person you admire once stood where you are, afraid, uncertain, flawed. But they moved anyway. They built themselves through movement. And they became living proof that it's not talent or timing that creates a legacy. It's alignment with the belief that you were meant to win. So act like it, not just when it's easy, especially when it's not. Do not misunderstand this. Acting like you were meant to win is not a performance. It is a reclamation. You are not pretending to be something you're not. You are remembering what you forgot. The greatness within you has never left. It has only been covered by years of fear, shame, and resignation. When you act like you were meant to win, you're not fabricating confidence, you're uncovering it. Winning is not a destination. It is a mindset, a frequency, a rhythm. It is the daily decision to move forward even when progress feels invisible. It's choosing courage over comfort, purpose over popularity, truth over trend. And let me tell you, when you walk this path, it will be lonely. People will misunderstand you. They will say you've changed. They'll try to pull you back down into the version of yourself that they recognize because that's safer for them. But you must not bend. You must be willing to walk alone if that's what self-mastery demands, because on the other side of isolation is alignment. And when you are aligned, truly deeply aligned, you become unstoppable. The universe, God, fate, call it what you will. It moves in response to your certainty, not your hopes, not your words, your certainty. And that certainty comes from movement, from doing the thing again and again until your bones remember what your mind once feared, until your identity evolves to match your decisions, until you no longer need motivation because momentum has taken its place. This is the quiet power of the winner's mindset. Not loud, not flashy, just relentless. And when others see you living this way, not talking but walking, they begin to feel something ancient stir inside of them, because your embodiment becomes their permission, your conviction becomes their mirror, and that is how legacies are born. You must understand, your old self will not go quietly. That weaker version of you, the one forged in hesitation, doubt, and fear, will cling to your ankles like chains. It will whisper that you're being reckless, that you're moving too fast, that you're trying to be someone you're not. And that's exactly when you must move faster, louder, harder. Not to drown it out with noise, but to pierce it with action. You don't become who you were meant to be by waiting for permission. You become it by acting, ruthlessly, decisively, consistently. The gap between who you are and who you're capable of becoming is filled with one thing: action, and not just any action. Aligned action, action born from belief, reinforced by discipline and executed with faith. Most people wait for clarity. Winners act their way into clarity. They know that motion reveals what hesitation hides, that life is not figured out from the sidelines but carved out in the arena, and that every scar you earn in battle is a signature on the contract of your destiny. If you're still asking, what if I fail? You're asking the wrong question. The real question is, what if I never try? What if I spend the rest of my life haunted by the version of me I refuse to become? That is a burden far heavier than any failure. So stop waiting for the right moment. There is no right moment. There is only now. There is only your breath, your decision, your step forward. Act like you were meant to win, and every molecule of your being will begin to conspire in your favor. You don't need to know the whole path, just the next step. And when you take it with conviction, the next one reveals itself. This is how you build a destiny. Not in a moment of brilliance, but in the repetition of brave, unseen choices. When you begin to walk in alignment with who you are destined to be, the world starts to shift around you. It's not magic, it's perception. The very nature of reality begins to bend toward the identity you've chosen to embody. Your brain seeks validation for who you believe you are, and it will find it through patterns, opportunities, and people. You become like a magnet, not because you attract by chance, but because your energy signals certainty. And certainty is irresistible. But this transformation is not instant. It is not given. It is forged. You must be willing to act before you feel ready, to move while still afraid, and to trust the fire more than the fear. It's in the doing that belief is born. It's in the repetition that the new identity solidifies. When you train your mind to act like the winner you were designed to become, you gradually eliminate the excuses of the old self. You begin to think different thoughts, speak different words, and feel different emotions. And all of that creates a new life. Acting like you were meant to win means you let go of the myth that success is reserved for the chosen. You begin to understand you are the chosen. You were chosen the moment you chose yourself. The world does not assign greatness, you claim it. And you do so every single day in the way you rise, the way you speak to yourself, the way you respond to challenge. You are never faking it. You are rehearsing it until it becomes your natural state. Like an actor who trains for the role of a lifetime, your repetition becomes embodiment. And once you embody it, you don't need to pretend. You simply are. This is the work most people avoid because it's internal, it's invisible, it's uncomfortable, but it's the only work that matters. Now ask yourself, are you living like someone who was meant to win or someone still negotiating with mediocrity? Because the gap between those two lives is made up of your decisions. And your next decision could be the one that breaks the pattern forever. You must begin to view each day as sacred training, not a burden, not a blur, but deliberate preparation for your destiny. Every action, every word, every thought is a vote cast for the future you are building. If you act with conviction, that version of you sharpens into focus. If you shrink, avoid, or delay, the old version digs its roots deeper. That is the war, not against the world, but against your former self. The self who hesitated, the self who negotiated, the self who apologized for dreaming big. You do not need to ask for permission anymore. You only need to act. Winning is not about force. It's about frequency. How often do you return to your vision? How often do you align with your mission? How often do you reinforce the identity of the person you were meant to become? That's the true measurement. Consistency isn't just about habits. It's about energy. The energy you carry into every conversation, every decision, every room. Winners walk in as if they belong. And because they believe they do, the room begins to believe it too. Understand this. Your transformation is not something you will achieve. It is someone you are revealing. You're not creating a new self from scratch. You are peeling back layers of doubt, fear, and programming to return to who you were before the world told you to shrink. That future version of you, they are not a fantasy. They are your birthright, but only if you act like it. Every single day, you must choose the next level version of yourself, in silence, in action, in thought. You must show up like them until the line between who you are and who you're becoming disappears. The person meant to win does not wait for ideal conditions. They act when it's dark. They move when it's hard. They build when they're tired. Why? Because they know something the average mind forgets. Results follow belief, not the other way around. You don't win and then believe. You believe and then you win. Don't just envision your victory, embody it. Walk like the version of you who's already overcome. Speak like the one who has nothing to prove but everything to live for. Breathe like someone who trusts the process, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. If you were meant to win, you'd be expected to carry pressure. You'd be expected to train differently, think differently, sacrifice differently, and you'd accept that willingly. Because you know the reward is not just in the outcome, but in who you become along the way. There's something sacred about discipline when it's aligned with purpose. You begin to find joy in the repetition. You begin to feel power in the silence. You start to understand why most people never rise. They want the crown but refuse the weight. You were built for the weight. You were built to carry more, to stretch, to bend, to grow through what others fear. This is why I say, act like you were meant to win. Because when you do, you stop waiting to be rescued. You realize no one's coming. And suddenly you stop looking out there and start pulling greatness from within. Let others gossip. Let others quit. Let others chase validation like it's currency. You've got different DNA. You were born to lead yourself first. You were built to stay grounded in the storm and silent in the noise. You don't beg for approval. You command it by how you move, how you show up, how you refuse to back down from your higher standard. And yes, it will get lonely, but greatness always is. That's why the view at the top is so clear. Few make it through the fog of fear, distraction, and doubt. You will. Because you've already decided, and you act accordingly. When the world tests you, and it will, remember this is not punishment, it's refinement. Life throws heat at those who carry light, but fire doesn't destroy the one who walks through it with purpose. Fire forges them, and you were meant to be forged. Not pampered, not coddled, forged. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary. You must stop thinking like you're auditioning for a life you were born to lead. This world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards clarity, certainty, conviction. When you step into a room, don't shrink, expand. Bring the full weight of who you are becoming. Let your energy say what your words never have to. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. When your actions reflect your purpose, confidence becomes quiet. You no longer need to explain yourself. Your discipline speaks volumes. Your resilience tells the story. I've seen too many people talk about potential like it's a trophy. Potential means nothing if you're not willing to pay the price of becoming. And here's the truth. Most avoid. Becoming will cost you your comfort. It will stretch your beliefs, test your habits, and demand sacrifices the old you would have never made. That's exactly how you know it's working. Growth doesn't ask for permission. It kicks down the doors you were too afraid to open. You've got to be the kind of person who welcomes that chaos because you know what's on the other side. You are no longer reacting to life. You're building it. You're not here to survive. You're here to dominate the space you've been called into. That requires you to move like your destiny is non-negotiable. You don't dabble in excellence. You commit to it. Fully, ruthlessly, daily. And when doubt creeps in, as it always does, you don't negotiate with it. You meet it with motion, with a workout, with a late night, with an early morning, with action that reminds your mind who's in charge. If you want uncommon results, you need to become an uncommon thinker. That means doing what most people won't. Choosing silence over noise, choosing routine over randomness, choosing vision over validation. Most people trade their power for comfort, then wonder why they never feel alive. You trade comfort for growth, and that's why you're unstoppable. That's why the game bends to your will. Because you're not waiting to feel like a winner. You've already decided that you are one. And everything you do from this moment forward proves it. Let's make one thing brutally clear. No one is coming to rescue you. No mentor, no miracle, no magical stroke of luck. If you're waiting for the world to recognize your worth before you act like it, you've already lost. This is not a rehearsal. Every second you spend doubting yourself is a second you could have used to build the life you claim to want. You don't need more proof. You need more decision. You need to choose the identity of a winner and start moving like that choice was final. Winning starts long before the victory. It begins in the lonely hours, the early mornings, the late nights when no one is watching and your old self tries to bargain with you for comfort. That's the battleground. That's where champions are made. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. You will never outperform your self-image. So what are you rehearsing in your mind? Who are you becoming in secret? Because eventually, the world will meet that version of you, and they'll believe in you as much as you believed in yourself when no one else did. Discipline is not just about doing the hard things. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer sees them as hard. You've rewired your standards. You've upgraded your baseline. What used to scare you is now your warm-up. That's transformation. That's the shift that makes you unstoppable. While others sleep in, you rise early. While others complain, you execute. While others hesitate, you move with force. And that force compounds, that momentum builds, until one day your results no longer look human. They look inevitable. The truth is, success doesn't feel like success when you're in it. It feels like sacrifice, sweat, silence. But that's the currency. That's the toll you pay on the road to greatness. And most people turn back at the first toll booth. You won't. You know that the price is high, but the payoff is higher. You've trained yourself to love the process, to crave the repetition, to worship the grind. Because deep down, you understand. The man or woman who can embrace the mundane, who can show up powerfully when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's thankless, that person owns the future. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your standards. That's why most people stay stuck. They have high hopes but low expectations. But you're setting a new standard, one that says, I do not shrink in the face of challenge. I do not ask for easy. I ask for growth. And the universe, it doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to identity. It mirrors who you believe you are. So if you walk like a winner, speak like a winner, think like a winner, so the world eventually rearranges itself around that belief. Do you know what most people fear more than failure? Responsibility. Because the moment you accept that you were meant to win, you also accept that there are no more excuses. You don't get to blame your childhood. You don't get to blame the economy. You don't get to wait for better timing. That kind of ownership is terrifying because it leaves you naked. But it also leaves you powerful. Because once you realize that you are the cause, not the effect, the chessboard opens up. You stop reacting. You start creating. The strongest version of you is not waiting to be discovered. It's waiting to be built, brick by brick, decision by decision. And every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you lay another stone in the foundation of the life you were meant to live. This is legacy work. This is the real wealth, becoming someone you're proud to be, even if no one claps, even if no one notices. Because self-respect is the loudest applause you'll ever hear, and it only echoes when your actions are aligned with your identity. When you act like you were meant to win, you stop measuring yourself by temporary results. You start measuring yourself by how consistently you show up for the mission. Winning is not an outcome. It's a frequency. And the only way to tune into it is to become the kind of person who refuses to lower their standards no matter what. The setbacks don't faze you. The delays don't derail you. Because your commitment is not conditional. It's identity-based. You don't chase greatness, you embody it. Every time you act from your higher self, you cast a vote for the life you desire, and those votes add up, not all at once, not in a tidal wave of change, but in the slow, steady erosion of the old self, the fearful self, the doubtful self, until one day you look in the mirror and don't even recognize the person you used to be, not because you faked it, but because you showed up day after day as if the victory had already happened, and eventually it did. The world bends to the bold, not to the brilliant, not to the lucky, but to the ones who are willing to stake their identity on a future that doesn't exist yet. That's what it means to act like you were meant to win. It means playing your part as if the script has already been written. It means stepping into the arena with the calm of someone who already knows how the story ends. You don't need to hustle for proof. You are the proof. Your posture, your language, your energy, that's the evidence of belief. Winners don't wait to feel ready. They declare themselves ready, then act in alignment with that declaration. That's the difference between movement and momentum, between dabbling and deciding. When you act like you were meant to win, there's no plan B, not because you're reckless, but because your identity doesn't allow for retreat. Doubt becomes irrelevant. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer drives the car. You've taken the wheel, and the road, it's yours to build. Most people want confidence first and action second, but that's not how it works. Confidence is earned in the trenches. It's built in the reps no one sees, in the hours you want to quit but don't. When you act like you were meant to win, your confidence becomes inevitable. Because every bold decision carves out a new groove in your nervous system that says, this is who I am now, not later, not someday. Now let's go deeper. Because there's a truth hiding in plain sight, one that most will never dare to face. The world doesn't reward you for your intentions. It rewards you for the energy you put into motion. You say you were meant to win? Then show me in your movements. Show me in the silence between decisions. Show me in the way you hold your head when no one is watching, when the applause has faded and the room has gone quiet. Because that right there, that is your true identity. You do not become powerful by waiting to feel powerful. You become powerful by acting like power already runs through your veins, by refusing to surrender to moods, to doubt, to fatigue. You act even when your body screams for ease. You choose the path of friction. And that friction, those daily refusals to take the easy way out, that's where your real strength is forged. The ones who win don't just work harder, they believe harder. They imagine themselves through every setback, every delay, every insult. And they keep moving because their belief is no longer an idea. It's a commandment etched into their bones. That's how winners are made. Not by birthright, not by luck, but by relentless decision, daily decision, hourly decision. That is the difference. The moment you act like you were meant to win, you stop negotiating with fear. You stop asking for validation. You stop watering yourself down to fit into rooms that were never meant to contain you. You become dangerous, not because you have something to prove, but because you have something to protect. Your vision, your purpose, your calling. You wear it like armor. You speak it like gospel. You carry it like fire, and you let no one extinguish it. And here's the secret. That fire, it doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be constant. It has to burn every day, whether the skies are stormy or clear, whether you feel like it or not, whether anyone claps or not. You carry that flame because it's yours. And no one can take it unless you hand it over. So what will you do now? Go back to acting small? Or will you step out with the energy of someone who knows who they are, who knows what they were made for, who doesn't just hope to win, but acts like it's already done? Because if you do, if you truly do, the world won't just take notice. It will bend, it will shift, it will mirror back the certainty you carry, and that is when everything begins to change. Now, let me tell you something most people never hear. Your circumstances don't define your ceiling. Your self-concept does. You could be surrounded by chaos, drowning in debt, overlooked, underestimated, But if you hold the image of yourself as a winner, as someone who was meant to rise, the tide will turn. The world has no choice but to rearrange itself around the force of a made-up mind. You see, most people think they need evidence before they can act like they've already succeeded, but the truth is reversed. The action comes first. The belief must be embodied before the results ever appear. You must walk like you already own the room, speak like you've already been chosen, move like your success is inevitable. Not because you're arrogant, but because you finally realize the truth. The mind obeys the image you feed it, and reality follows the mind. This is not about lying to yourself. This is about stepping into alignment with who you truly are beneath the fear, beneath the doubt, beneath the years of conditioning that tried to make you forget your power. When you act like you were meant to win, you send a signal, not just to the world, but to your subconscious. That signal rewires your nervous system, your attention, your energy. And that's when you become a magnet. Opportunities, people, resources, they begin to move toward you because your frequency changed. But here's what you must understand. This new identity won't stick if you treat it like a costume. You can't act like a winner for one day and return to your old self the next. You must wear it like skin. You must speak it into every conversation. You must think it before every decision, because consistency is what turns self-image into self-reality. Yes, people will mock you. They'll say, you've changed. Let them. That's the point. Change is uncomfortable for you and for those who refuse to rise. But your job is not to keep others comfortable. Your job is to answer the call that was whispered to you when you were a child, the one you've been silencing for far too long. You already know what you're here to do, and if you're honest with yourself, the only thing holding you back is the way you keep showing up like you're still waiting for permission. So stop waiting and decide now. From this moment forward, act like you were meant to win. Because the moment you do, you won't just change your day, you'll change your destiny. Understand this. Every day you wake up and choose to doubt yourself, you strengthen the very identity that's keeping you stuck. But every day you rise and act like the person you were born to become, even when it feels unnatural, you are sculpting a new self, one that becomes inevitable. Your thoughts are the chisel, your habits are the hammer, and your imagination, that's the blueprint. You don't wait for proof, you act on faith. Because faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And those who win in life are those who move by faith, not by sight. Now let me ask you, if today were the day your dream finally arrived, would it recognize you? Would it see you prepared, confident, certain? Or would it see hesitation, insecurity, a version of you still trying to earn what was always meant to be yours? Stop playing small for the comfort of others. Stop negotiating with doubt like it ever had your best interest at heart. You don't owe the world your apologies. You owe it your greatness. The kind of greatness that doesn't need to shout because it's too busy doing, too busy building, too busy becoming. When you walk into a room with conviction, people feel it. You don't need to announce your value. You embody it. You speak with clarity, not because you know all the answers, but because you trust the power moving through you. That's what it means to act like you were meant to win. It's not a performance. It's a posture, a stance you hold in your spirit. And let me be clear, this will not be easy. You will be tested. There will be days you'll want to return to the safety of your old identity. But remember, comfort is the cage. Purpose is the key. And the only way to unlock your next level is to walk like you've already arrived. So walk tall, think bold, speak life, and never forget, the winner in you is not waiting to be created. It's waiting to be claimed. There is no force more magnetic than a human being who has decided. Not one who is still hoping, not one who is still doubting, but one who has burned the ships, silenced the inner critic, and moved forward with unwavering determination. When you decide that you were meant to win, the universe conspires to meet your energy. People feel it. Doors begin to open. Resistance bows to that kind of certainty. Winners are not made in moments of applause. They are forged in silence. In the early mornings when no one is watching, in the late nights when the world is sleeping and you are still building, still believing, still becoming. You don't need a crowd to validate your journey. Your results will be the loudest voice in the room. The question is no longer, can I do it? The question is, will I act like it's already mine? You see, the future doesn't arrive all at once. It reveals itself to those who prepare for it. You do not attract what you want. You attract who you are. So the moment you begin behaving like a winner, speaking like a winner, working like a winner, you start to pull victory into your orbit. No one will hand you the crown. You must rise like it already belongs to you. The world will test your posture, will tempt you to shrink. But you weren't born to dim your brilliance for fear of being seen. You were born to light the path so others could remember what power looks like when it walks without apology. That's what I ask of you, not perfection, not performance, but posture. Hold the energy of success like it's already done. Let every word, every breath, every move radiate purpose. This is how champions think. This is how legacies are written, by those who dared to act like they were chosen and kept going until the world couldn't ignore it. You cannot ask for greatness and walk like a question mark. You must enter every moment as if you already hold the answer, because you do. The answer is your belief. The answer is your decision. The answer is your ability to step forward without waiting for someone to affirm your value. When you act like you were meant to win, you stop asking for permission. You start claiming territory. Think of the most powerful individuals you've ever witnessed. What do they all have in common? Certainty, not arrogance, not noise, but a still, quiet knowing. That's the foundation of true power. You can build an empire from that. You can change generations with that, but only if you protect it, feed it, act from it daily. Most people never reach this level because they wait for life to prove something before they believe it. But real winners, they believe first. They walk into the room already owning it. They show up to the battlefield already victorious in mind and spirit. Because once you see yourself as a conqueror, every step you take becomes an act of destiny. You will not always feel ready. You will not always feel confident. But none of that matters if you've made the decision to move. Action creates momentum, and momentum builds belief, and belief becomes your identity. So even if the world tells you to shrink, even if circumstances try to delay you, your identity must shout louder. I am not who I was. I am who I've decided to become. And let your behavior echo that declaration. Let your habits reinforce it. Let your voice declare it until doubt has no room to breathe. This is not make-believe. This is how empires are born. By those who refuse to act like anything less than greatness in motion. There will be days when nothing seems to work. Days when results hide in the shadows and everything feels uphill. But this is where the gap is closed. Not through reward, but through resolve. Most people quit because they were only committed when it was easy. But the ones who win, they're committed even when it's brutal, even when no one is watching, even when applause is replaced by silence. Acting like you were meant to win means showing up fully, even when life offers no visible return, because you know something the world hasn't caught up to yet. That your results are inevitable, that every drop of effort is compounding, unseen, behind the scenes. And when it finally bursts through the soil, others will call it overnight success. But you'll know the truth. The truth is you earned it when no one cared. You shaped it in the dark. You kept walking when no one clapped. That is what separates the imagined from the inevitable. That is what gives weight to your walk, thunder to your name, and fire to your legacy. There's a war going on inside every man and woman, a war between who they are and who they could be. And most people lose not because they aren't capable, but because they surrender to the whispers of comfort. But comfort doesn't breed champions. Challenge does. Consistency does. Relentless self-respect does. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to stand firm. to walk in alignment with the person your soul was screaming to become. And if you stay faithful to that voice, if you take action with the intensity of someone who refuses to waste this life, then winning becomes your rhythm, not your wish. Your rhythm. This isn't about chasing success. It's about becoming the kind of person success chases. You weren't born to be cautious. You were born to be courageous. Every instinct that whispers for you to hide, to delay, to doubt, that's the echo of a life unlived, and you know it. That's why it stings. That's why the smallest moments of hesitation feel like betrayal, because they are. Every time you choose safety over growth, you betray the greatness wired into your very being. Don't you see? You were meant to lead. Not just others, but yourself. You were meant to walk into the fire, not away from it. You were meant to make decisions, not wait for permission. Because the life you're capable of building requires a kind of ruthless belief in yourself. The kind that doesn't need applause, doesn't ask for approval, and doesn't fear rejection. This belief is forged in solitude, in silence, in the dark hours where no one is watching and the only voice you hear is your own. And that voice, it better be strong, it better be clear, it better say, this is who I am, this is what I do, and nothing will stop me. Because the world will try. It will send distractions wrapped in comfort. It will whisper lies disguised as logic. It will put roadblocks in your path and hope you turn back, but you won't, because you've already made the decision. You've already drawn the line. You've already said to yourself, I will act like I was meant to win, until it's no longer an act, until it becomes the truth. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk. Let them laugh. Because while they're watching, you're working. While they're doubting, you're building. And while they're standing still, you're moving forward fiercely and with unstoppable intent. The victory isn't someday. It isn't a distant fantasy. It's now. It's today. It's in every breath you take with purpose and every step you take with resolve. Win the moment, win the hour, win the day. And soon, the world will have no choice but to witness what happens when someone stops pretending and starts embodying. You don't just act like you were meant to win. You live like it, you breathe like it, you become it, starting now. The world makes way for those who dare to rise. Click the rise button now and claim the destiny waiting for you. Your time is now.